1 minute ago, Oat's condition takes a tragic turn. Back in coma. The hospital corridors had never been so silent, yet the silence was deafening. Every step echoed, every breath carried weight, and every whisper was drenched in fear. Oat, the man whose smile once lit up screens, whose laughter once filled rooms, whose love story with Boat had been the thread binding millions of fans, has once again slipped into the terrifying clutches of a coma. And this time, the doctor's words carved deeper wounds than ever before. We don't know if he'll wake up again. The alarming collapse. It happened suddenly, without warning. Oat had shown signs of fragile recovery in the past few weeks. Boat was finally able to coax a smile from him in the hospital garden just days ago, as Oat watched sunlight break through the clouds. Fans celebrated that fragile smile, believing it was proof of resilience. But at 3:17 a.m., the nightmare returned. Nurses rushed down the hallway as alarms pierced the stillness of the ward. Oat's body convulsed, monitors screamed red, and within minutes, the fragile thread holding him to consciousness was severed. By the time doctors stabilized him, he had already drifted back into the darkness of coma. Boat, who had fallen asleep in a chair by Oat's side, woke to the chaos and the shrill sound of machines. He stumbled forward, grabbing Oat's hand, screaming, "Stay with me. Don't leave me again." But Oat's stillness was unbearable. His chest rose and fell only with the aid of machines, his once bright eyes hidden beneath shut lids that seemed determined not to open. Boat's breakdown. Witnesses described Boat's collapse as the most heart-wrenching moment yet. He clung to Oat's hand, refusing to let go as nurses and doctors swarmed around. His tears fell onto the white sheets, dripping onto Oat's unmoving fingers. He begged, he pleaded, his voice cracking as his body shook uncontrollably. "If you can hear me, please fight. You promised me you'd never leave. You can't break that promise, not like this. Wake up, Oat, please." When the medical team finally ushered Boat out of the room to stabilize Oat's body, Boat collapsed onto the cold floor of the hallway, his cries echoing through the sterile walls. Staff who had worked with hundreds of critical patients admitted they had never witnessed such raw despair. "He wasn't just crying," one nurse whispered later. "He was breaking apart in front of us. It was like his soul was being ripped out." Fans in frenzy. The news hit social media like lightning. Hashtags surged to the top within minutes. Hashtag pray for Oat. Hashtag stay strong Boat. Hashtag wake up Oat. Millions of fans, spread across every corner of the globe, began posting photos, videos, and messages of support. Candlelight vigils erupted outside the hospital, with fans holding Oat's posters high in the air, chanting his name like a prayer against fate itself. One fan live-streamed the vigil, her face streaked with tears. "We've watched their love. We've watched their pain. We can't lose Oat now. He has to come back. For Boat. For us. For the story that isn't finished." The doctor's grim statement. Hours after the relapse, the hospital held a press conference. Cameras flashed as the chief surgeon, wearing a face pale with exhaustion, stepped forward. His words were clinical, but his trembling voice betrayed the gravity of the situation. "Oat has suffered significant complications. The likelihood of him regaining consciousness is uncertain. We will continue to monitor him closely, but at this time, the prognosis is critical." Reporters gasped. Fans watching the live stream at home screamed at their screens, tears flowing as if they had lost a family member. The reality that Oat may never wake again sent shockwaves across nations. Boat's heartfelt plea. Hours after the press conference, Boat posted on his social media account. His message was short, but every word bled with anguish. "I refuse to believe this is the end. I'll fight for him until his eyes open again. Please, everyone, to pray with me." The post shattered the internet. Millions reshared it, adding their own vows of support. Some fans recorded videos of themselves singing songs that Oat once loved, while others posted long letters addressed to him, pleading for his return. A visit from old friends. Later that day, familiar faces from the entertainment industry arrived at the hospital. Su Kai, Tan Song-yun, and even Xiao Zhan and Wang Yiba were spotted entering through the side entrance. They carried flowers, photographs, and tears in their eyes. One eyewitness described the moment Wang Yiba and Xiao Zhan stood by Boat. They didn't speak at first. They just hugged him while he cried. Then Xiao Zhan whispered, "You're not alone in this. If Oat can hear us, he knows he's loved by millions." The scene quickly spread online, sparking yet another wave of emotional responses. The sight of industry giants standing united in grief showed just how deeply Oat's struggle had touched everyone. The Coma room vigil. Inside Oat's hospital room, Boat refused to leave. Nurses brought him blankets, food, and water, but he stayed glued to Oat's bedside. He read aloud every letter fans had left at the hospital gates, his voice breaking between sobs. "Listen to them, Oat. They need you. I need you. Please fight your way back." At one point, Boat leaned so close to Oat's ear that staff swore they saw a single tear slide from Oat's closed eyes. Was it reflex? Or was it a sign he could still hear Boat's desperate voice? The mystery left fans clinging to fragile hope. Global shockwaves. International outlets picked up the news within hours. From New York to Tokyo, from Paris to Lagos, headlines screamed about Oat's tragic condition. Twitter feeds flooded with messages in multiple languages, uniting fans from across the world in prayer. Even celebrities outside Asia posted heartfelt messages. One Hollywood star wrote, "I don't know them personally, but seeing their love story and now this tragedy reminds us how fragile life is. Sending strength to Boat and prayers for Oat." The shadow of fear. But beneath the hope, fear loomed large. Doctors whispered of long-term damage. Some suggested that even if Oat did wake, he might never fully recover his ability to walk, speak, or live as he once did. Boat, however, rejected despair. When a reporter shouted at him outside the hospital gates, asking if he feared the worst, Boat's voice thundered through his tears. "I don't care what the doctors say. I only care about Oat waking up. As long as he's alive, I'll believe in a miracle." A nation holds its breath. The image of Boat clutching Oat's hand in the hospital bed has now become iconic. It circulates endlessly online, printed on posters, and held up at vigils. Children write "Wake up, Oat" in chalk on streets. Churches, temples, and mosques alike hold services for him. It's no longer just about a star. It's about hope, love, and the unbreakable bond between two souls whose story has captured the heart of the world. And now, as Oat lies motionless in his hospital bed, with Boat's trembling voice as the last anchor tying him to this world, millions are asking the same question. Will Oat survive this time? Or is this the tragic ending none of us are ready to accept? The clock on the hospital wall ticked quietly, marking the fragile minutes of Oat's recovery. Just hours earlier, the faintest hint of color had returned to his cheeks, and for the first time in weeks, Boat had dared to dream. He had leaned close, whispering jokes only Oat would understand, and when Oat's lips curved into the softest of smiles, Boat felt as though the universe was giving him back the man he loved. But fate was crueler than anyone imagined. The moment everything fell apart. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the stillness of the ward broke like glass shattering. The steady beeps of the heart monitor suddenly accelerated, screeching into alarms. Oat's body jerked violently on the bed, his fingers twitching as his chest rose in ragged, desperate gasps. Boat, who had been dozing in a chair, bolted upright. His eyes widened in horror as he saw Oat's body convulse, the life they had prayed so hard for slipping away in front of him. "No, Oat. Please, hold on," Boat screamed, his voice cutting through the chaos as nurses rushed in. The room transformed into a battlefield. Nurses barked orders, IVs were ripped open and replaced, syringes stabbed into trembling arms, oxygen masks sealed over Oat's pale lips. The machine screamed louder, flashing crimson warnings as if mocking every attempt to save him. Boat's desperation. Boat stumbled forward, shoving past a nurse, and collapsed onto the side of the bed. His hands gripped Oat's limp arm with such force his knuckles went white. His tears streamed unchecked, splattering onto the hospital gown. "You promised me," Boat's voice cracked. "You said you'd never leave me again. Wake up, Oat. Please wake up. When a doctor tried to push him aside, Boat resisted, clinging tighter. Don't take me away from him. Don't you dare take me away from him. He needs me. The nurse's voice trembled as she begged Boat to step back, but how could he? How could he watch the love of his life be pulled back into that cruel silence while he stood helpless in the corner? The fight for life. The next 10 minutes felt like 10 years. The team worked frantically, compressions, injections, machines screaming with every failure. The smell of antiseptic filled the air, mixed with the metallic scent of fear itself. Boat's cries grew weaker, not from lack of love, but from exhaustion. His voice broke into whispered pleas, his forehead pressed against Oates' unmoving hand. If you can hear me, even just a little, don't give up. I'm right here. I'll never let go. And then, just like that, the convulsions ceased. Oates' body fell still. The machine steadied, but not with signs of life. Instead, they revealed the harsh truth. Oates had slipped once more into the abyss of coma. Silence after the storm. The chaos ended, but the silence that followed was worse. Doctors whispered to one another, shaking their heads grimly. A nurse quietly turned off the alarm sound, the shrill beeps replaced by the heavy hum of machines breathing for Oates. Boat lifted his head, staring at Oates' face. His tears blurred his vision, but he could still trace every line, every curve of the man he loved. He brushed trembling fingers across Oates' cheek, whispering, "You were here with me just hours ago. You smiled. I saw it. Don't you dare tell me it's gone forever. Don't you dare." His sobs echoed, raw and unrestrained. The hospital walls carried his grief like a haunting melody. Even the medical staff, hardened by years of tragedy, found themselves wiping tears from their eyes. Witnesses to pain. A young nurse, barely holding back her own emotions, later described the scene to reporters. "I've seen families cry, but this was different. Boat wasn't just crying, he was shattering in front of us. Every word he said sounded like it came from the depths of a broken soul. It was unbearable to witness." Another doctor confessed he had to step out for a moment because he couldn't watch Boat break down without breaking himself. The hallway collapse. When the doctors finally guided Boat out of the room to continue stabilizing Oates, his legs gave way beneath him. He fell onto the cold hospital floor, clutching his chest as if the pain inside was physically tearing him apart. "I can't breathe without him," he sobbed. "If he doesn't come back, I don't know how to exist." Other patients' families gathered in the hallway, stunned by the rawness of his grief. Some wept with him, strangers united by his heartbreak. One elderly woman approached and placed a trembling hand on Boat's shoulder, whispering, "Don't stop believing. Sometimes love is stronger than medicine." Boat looked up at her with swollen eyes, clutching those words like the last thread of hope. A tear that changed everything. Hours later, when Boat was finally allowed back into Oates' room, he sat by the bedside in silence. His eyes were red, his body drained, but his hand never left Oates. He began reading letters fans had sent, his voice trembling as he recited each one. "Listen to this, Oates," he whispered. "They're all waiting for you. We're all waiting. Please come back to us." As his voice cracked, something unbelievable happened. A single tear rolled from the corner of Oates' closed eye. Gasps filled the room. Nurses rushed forward, unsure if it was a reflex or a miracle. But to Boat, it was everything. He pressed his forehead to Oates' hand, whispering through new floods of tears, "You can hear me. I know you can. Please keep fighting." The world holds its breath. By morning, news of Oates' collapse had already flooded the internet. Fans shared shaky videos of Boat crying in the hallway, his screams haunting millions worldwide. Vigils multiplied, and online timelines filled with prayers in dozens of languages. But it was the story of the single tear that shook fans the most. Was it proof Oates could still feel? Was love pulling him back from the edge? One fan tweeted, "That wasn't just a tear. That was Oates telling Boat, 'I'm still here. Don't give up.'" Closing reflection. The moment of Oates' collapse has become etched in the memory of millions. It was more than just medical tragedy. It was a display of unfiltered human love and despair. Both's cries, the single tear, the silent promise between two souls refusing to let go, all of it combined into a story that the world cannot turn away from. And now, as Oat lies motionless but still breathing, one question lingers louder than all others. Will love be enough to wake him again?